I really felt it was time to back myself rather than work in another company. I was passionate about selling. I was passionate about performance in particular and how to get the most from people. But I could see a problem. I was intrigued by this problem, which was how to drive better sales performance, in particular collaboration across different parts of an organization. I was really passionate about trying to solve that transformation, sales transformation problem. And we did a lot of projects and focuses on how to try and improve performance as we transformed as a company. From there, that led me on a quest to ultimately start Animis 4 years ago, ultimately leading me to develop a product, a SaaS-based platform, and that's where we are today. I'm not scared to fail.
Hi, Danny. Thank you so much for coming to the live of Founder. How's it going?
Very good, thanks, Max. Thanks for having me.
My
Delighted to be here.
pleasure. Thank you for your time. This is about you. It's not about your startup. Your venture is pretty much 100% about what is behind, which means the founders, yourself.
Right.
Would you like to give me a picture of who you are, where you come from, and how it all started?
Yeah, so my name is Danny O'Neill. I'm founder of Animis. We're the first AI guided sales collaboration platform for B2B revenue teams. I'm Irish, as you can probably tell from my accent, hopefully. I live here in Dublin, a little suburb called Ranelagh, just outside the city. I have a wife and two kids. I've been in B2B sales industry in the tech sector for the last 25 years. So I know I don't look that age, but that's how long it's been, which has been an incredible journey, mostly working for US tech companies here in Dublin. Dublin has many European headquarters, as you guys may know, based here. So we definitely have a vibrant, lively tech sector here in Dublin, and I'm part of that scene. Yeah, so delighted to be here today.
Thank you so much. I mean, what was the motivation behind being an entrepreneur? Because that's a tough choice. It's very tough at the very beginning to start up any kind of business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, right? And as I said, I'm not a 20-something-year-old spring chicken who's, I never in my 20s or 30s would have seen myself as an entrepreneur. But I guess after working in my industry, and particularly B2B sales in the tech space, I guess you learn a lot and you evolve as a person. And fundamentally, I was passionate about selling. I was passionate about performance in particular and how to get the most from people. And we can talk. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that further on. But I could see a problem, and I was intrigued by this problem, which was how to drive better sales performance, in particular collaboration across different parts of an organization. And I was focused on that, working in Dell. I was in Dell Computers for 14 years. We did a lot of projects and focuses on how to try and improve performance as we transformed as a company. And I was really passionate about trying to solve that transformation, sales transformation problem. And from there, that led me on a quest to ultimately start Animis 4 years ago, initially providing services and sales consultancy, but then ultimately leading me to develop a product, a SaaS-based platform. And that's where we are today.
I mean, as you said, one thing is starting a business when you are 20. You have a lot of room to go. You can fail 4, 5, 6 times, it's still okay. And one thing when you cross, for example, I'm 51, I turned 51 yesterday. So it's a
Happy
different
birthday.
story. EquityMatch is my first startup, and the feeling is different. What was your feeling when you decided, okay, I'm going to start another time? I'm going to do this now.
Yeah, incredible excitement, nervousness, certainly some anxiety around it. But, I think you get to a certain point in your career where I really felt it was time to back myself rather than work in another company. So I'd worked in Dell, I'd worked in a couple of other companies post leaving Dell in 2014, some really senior roles in US tech companies. Enjoyed those roles immensely. Continued to learn and develop skills, but could still had this niggling feeling that I had a that was a problem to be solved, and I had a particular unique perspective about how we could solve that challenge. And I guess that ultimately, that scratch, that itch just became too much. And I said, look, rather than go back and work within an organization and, deliver in that way, it was time to, at my stage in life, to put my money, bank on myself, I guess, and put a bet on me as a founder. Um, I think I took the initial step. As I said, I was providing services and consultancy around B2B selling into small startup companies in Ireland. I was testing my ideas, I was testing my hypothesis. We did some very basic MVP trials of what we were trying to do. They were very successful. And I think that gave me the confidence then to say, look, I think we have something here. Let's move forward. And luckily enough, within Dublin, we have a vibrant startup ecosystem. We get a lot of support from our government, Enterprise Ireland, through various different incubators. Uh, we were very lucky to be accepted on an incubator program called the NDRC here in Dublin, uh, which was phenomenal first step for us, because not only did we get coaching and mentoring, and we were part of a structured program, but we got some initial funding to help us get up and running and build that initial MVP. So that support obviously makes the decision a little less risky. I had some strong team around me as well, a couple of other founders with me as well, helping me on that journey, which really helped. So all in all, yeah, I ultimately just got to a point in my career whereas I need to do this for myself. I need to bank on myself. The support structures were there to enable me to do it here in Dublin. I had some, really great expertise wrapped around me, and just decided to step off that precipice and take a chance.
That's the beauty. Do something for yourself. I mean, working with great corporation gives you a lot of, it's a kind of teaching and learning every day. But it's a different story being an entrepreneur. As I described, being an entrepreneur, it's a very strong learning curve every day. So like having an MBA every day, you wake up in the morning, you have a new challenging, but you've been moving from being an employee to being an employer. And what were the initial struggles? What do you find the toughest part in doing so?
I think what was the initial struggles? I think, particularly to what we were doing, um, our message was quite provocative. We founded a company 4 years ago. Our message was, B2B sales was broken, or certainly not performing the way it should be. Our message was customers were, moving away from engaging with sales teams because they didn't see the value. um, you know, Teams were largely 60-70% of sales teams were missing quota, not hitting their numbers. Customers were dissatisfied in the buying experience. Um, that was our message. We were speaking that kind of language, and you know, talking about we needed to think differently about sales, and that ultimately performance becomes from people, collaboration, value creation for customers, delivering great customer experiences. That was kind of a radical thing to say 4 years ago, particularly when we were at the height of, you know, uh, companies just really playing volume, velocity, outreach metrics, right? And just thinking that, hey, we needed to build a big BDR function. We needed to be, scale, 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 volume, 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 outreach to drive top of funnel. And then, the funnel boils down to, withers all the way down to, 2% conversion rates and even less than that. And gradually, we were saying, advocating that message and evangelizing that message 4 years ago. And frankly, not a lot of people really bought into it, to be honest, right? Because everyone was playing the same playbook, the volume, velocity, BDR, top of funnel playbook to churn out some sales on the back end. But we could see the problems with that. And I think over time, because everyone was doing that playbook, it started to eat itself. And now we're at a point 4 years later where B2B sales is widely recognized as that model is now broken, because we see, teams not hitting revenue, growth stalling, customers saying the sales experience is dreadful, wanting to self-serve. We see high churn rates and yada yada yada, and so on and so forth. And now, I don't need to go out and convince leaders to do that. They're saying, "Hey, our current methods is broken." Add into that the whole complexity with the sales technology stack, lots of products, silo data pools, and you've got leaders saying, okay, not only is our model broken, but our tech stack is broken. You know, and now lay in generative AI, which has completely thrown everything up in the air. And everybody is now thinking about what's the impact that's going to have on the future of B2B sales. And now we're in a pivotal turning point, I believe. And, now our message is resonating more. We get more engagement from leaders saying, you were right all along, not quite. Um, but there's definitely much more of an appetite to engage in our view of the world, to look at Animis as a platform, and to really, have a compelling interest to understand how we want to drive high performance selling in B2B over the next 5 to 10 years.
Being an entrepreneur, how impacted your life in a good or in a bad way?
In a from a financial perspective, in a dreadful way so far, right? I would say, you know, definitely naive and becoming an entrepreneur, thinking, oh, I'll be making my kind of salary, in 12 months, even 18, 24 months. Never going to happen. Not going to happen. And I would make the distinction, and we found this quite difficult as well. There's plenty of startups that are solving a really important problem out there, no matter what that might be, and no matter what industry that might be. But they're creating a product or a solution that can address that problem. There's an easy access to a market. There's customers that are ready to accept that, and you can start to generate revenue quickly. Ours is not that kind of company, because I was very passionate about thinking about what does B2B sales need to look like in 5 to 10 years. We're providing an end-to-end platform, an end-to-end solution that does lots of things, because we believe ultimately that's what's going to give the holistic approach needed in sales. So there's not a ready market for that. So I had to accept the fact that financially speaking, it's going to be some time before we're all going to be making healthy salaries in that respect. So that definitely was a big learning. Glad I still went on this journey, but definitely, you've got to take off the rose tinted glasses and accept that it's going to be a journey of ups and downs, highs and lows, two steps forward, one step back. But if you stay focused on the prize and focused on what you believe, and you stay close to your customers, and you constantly monitor what the competitors are doing and what's happening in the marketplace, I think you can stay one step ahead and ultimately succeed.
Anyway, that's the challenge to be an entrepreneur at the very beginning, but not only the very beginning. He said, we are keen to see the proper solution to the market is straightforward, generating revenues, but doesn't work almost for 90% of any startup I see in my life. They struggle. The first 24, 36 months, traction is very little. And they struggle to find the money, they struggle to find everything. So the quality of the life becomes very poor.
Yeah,
For me, it's been the same. When I started my first startup, I mean, I removed everything. My lifestyle went from 100 to zero. It was a choice, and which I don't regret at all. It's different. It's a different way to approach life being an entrepreneur than be an employee or be a manager and getting very good salary. But do you have any kind of routine, a day-to-day routine that somehow helps you to keep on balance?
I do. I do. I would say it's a routine with flexibility built into it, because I have family, and my wife is also an entrepreneur, and she works from home as well. So that has lots of advantages. We're both at home. We have kids in school, so we're flexible in that respect. Um, I don't have a rigid structure of X amount of hours doing one thing or another. because it's fluid. I mean, I think you're constantly responding to what's in front of you, whether that's looking at what competitors are doing, you know, reading and researching and trying to stay abreast of the technology changes and the challenges that are happening in the market. I think also, spending my time thinking about how we're going to fund the company to move forward, thinking about what our investment strategy. Definitely, that's part. I spend time every week reflecting on that. Obviously, finding those customers. Thinking about the key sales events, revenue events that we need to attend to, and trying to go to as many of those as typically part of my week. And then really just thinking deeply about the product and the platform, because ultimately I found that yes, the messaging is important. Yes, your differentiation is important. Yes, how you engage with the market is important. But ultimately, if the product, your platform is not delivering the value that makes a significant difference to your customers, it's very difficult to convince people to try something new. And what I mean by that is it's not, I found personally, it's not good enough to be the same as or a little bit better than what's in the marketplace, because there's not enough compelling value there for customers to take a risk. It's how can you provide something that is a game changer, a game changer. I guess I don't want to use the word game changer necessarily, but there's enough compelling value in what you're offering that a customer is willing to change their behaviors to adopt that platform. So that's what we obsess about every week. It's funding, it's customers, it's what's happening in the marketplace, it's our product, it's platform. Is it delivering that incremental value that's really going to get you across the line with customers? Because in our space, you're asking them to put, which is probably already a complicated technology stack, either to put your platform in there as an overarching platform, or to take products out, and that's a big ask. So that's been a big learning for us. It's not 5%, 10% extra value is not good enough. You need to be 50, 80, 100% more value. And that's where we think we're starting to see much stronger traction, because we're offering that level of value.
Changing for customers is very complicated. It's a changing the way we change habits. It's a human, right? The
Yeah.
human being is difficult. We don't like to change. So when we change, the value proposition must be so high that you can't say no. It's very complicated to communicate and
Yeah.
make them buy in. But as you said, the life of an entrepreneur is up and down, highs and lows. And one day it's everything is great. The day after everything is bad in just 24 hours. So uh, have you ever thought, I do not have all the tools and quality needed to get this done?
I have personally the tools at my disposal to get this done.
Yourself as a founder, as a CEO.
Yeah, I mean, look, as a founder, you're wearing every hat. You're everything from the salesperson, the marketeer, the researcher. You're everything. I don't have a technical background. My background is on the commercial side, understanding sales operations. Um, you know, we don't today have a technical founder within the team. We outsource the development of our platform. For us, that's worked really, really well, because we're trying to bootstrap ourselves as much as possible without having to raise funding very, very early in our development. Yeah, we don't have that technical expertise. The other members of the team come from a marketing and sales background also, and a services background. So we definitely lack that technical capability, but we found a fantastic partner that we've been working with over the last 4 years to do that. But it's a learning journey. I mean, I'm learning how to, manage a product roadmap. I'm learning how to, uh, think about looking at AI, for example, and thinking about how AI can be applied to our platform and the benefits that can have. So as a founder, yeah, you're wearing a commercial, a technical, a strategic, a tactical hat. There's so many hats you've got to wear, and you can't be an expert in all of those. So, finding good co-founders or other internal or external resources you can have to fill those knowledge gaps is definitely important.
I mean, what do you like to do the most? As you say, marketing, sales, and after you move to accounting, and for what I can see, nobody likes accounting. What is the task that you very much prefer during your day?
Oh, I'm definitely the more strategic focused. I mean, I started my career in sales started as a salesperson, so I enjoy selling. I've been an account manager, I've been a sales manager, been a sales leader for 8 9 years. Even in my other roles, in many respects, so you're still a salesperson selling your view of the world, right? Uh, so I love sales. I enjoy sales mainly, but I come at it from the point of view of engaging with customers to understand their business and understand their challenges and thinking of ways that our products or solutions can help them solve those challenges and achieve those goals. That's the way I view sales. So I absolutely enjoy that. But as a founder, I think my core strength today is really the strategic focus, looking at the trends that are happening in our industry, both on a global scale, on a commercial scale, on a technical scale, as we see, the AI revolution happen before our eyes, and really thinking about how that impacts where we go with our platform. I like to think I'm just curious by nature, always have been. I have a background in science, of a master's degree in science research, so I've always had that curious, looking at problems, trying to analyze what they are, thinking about causation and correlations between different issues and so on, having a systems mindset, and I'm applying that to the problem that we're trying to solve. So I like to think I'm strategic, but also a salesperson, and I think that's kind of an unusual combination in an entrepreneur. Most tend to come from a technical background and then perhaps struggle with the commercial aspects. I think I'm the other way around. I come with the commercial aspects and so on, but don't have that technical background. But I like technology. I love technology. I sold Dell technology for 14 years. So I like that technical piece as well. So I'm not afraid to jump in there too.
You work in one of the greatest company when it comes to tech. Then, so you
Yeah.
had already enough learning.
Incredible company. I mean, had taught me so much, developed, they were just way ahead of their time in terms of thinking about not just the direct model and so on, but also thinking about the professionalism of how they go about things and in sales and marketing, and thinking about the customer and partnerships in particular. Yeah, they taught me a lot.
I mean, there are two words that really matter founders: resilience and motivation. How do you keep them very close to you? How do you feed your motivation and your resilience? You must be very resilient to be a founder, to be an entrepreneur.
You absolutely have to be resilient for sure, 100%. As I said, the highs and the lows, two steps forward, one step back. It can really feel like that at times. You can have a very bad week, and then on Friday, just something good happens. Response from a customer, an acceptance of a meeting, good feedback on the platform, and then suddenly you're on cloud nine, right? So you have to be able to go up the ups and downs. I think what gives me resilience is a true belief in what we're trying to do. There is a challenge in B2B sales currently. We believe we have a very unique perspective about how to solve that challenge. I keep going back to the fundamentals. Is there a problem here? Yes, there is. What is that problem? Do you understand it? Can you write it down on paper? When you look at how others are trying to solve that problem, is there a disconnect? And if even at moments where you might be low and doubting yourself, to go back to those fundamentals and just recalibrate and reassess always kind of gives me the confidence that, look, we're doing the right thing. And that combined, as I said, with customers saying good feedback and, yeah, this is interesting, and the timing piece, as I said, which is coming right for us now, as there's a broad acceptance that things are changing in B2B sales. I think all of those things constantly gives me the encouragement to keep going on. So It's the little wins that boost your confidence. But when you're at a low and you're considering, oh, are we doing the right thing here? Just go back to those fundamentals. What's the problem? What's the challenge? How are others doing it in the market? Do we have that differentiation? Do we have a different perspective? Can we build some technology to execute to that? And I think if the answer is yes, when you go back to those questions, then that always gives me the confidence to keep pushing forward.
What's your relationship with failure? Are you scared to fail? To shut down your company one day?
No, no, I'm not scared to fail. I mean, fail is a big term, right? I mean, as my wife, I only had this conversation with her a couple of weeks ago, where she said, like, fail is a big word. You can, there's the failure of your overall objective, but within that, you have developed as a person. I essentially have reinvented myself over the last 4 years from a leader in sales operations in a company to an entrepreneur who's building a platform that incorporates artificial intelligence right at the cusp of a revolution in B2B sales. That's where I am today. And that's been a 4 year journey to get there. So even if Animis does not succeed, right, we all know the percentages, right, of companies that fail and companies succeed. I've completely developed and rebuilt a new skill set, a new persona for myself, a new brand for myself. So in just on that simple term, I haven't failed. I cannot fail.
That's a very good way to see failure. My take is I can fail, I don't mind. As long as I learn and I can be somehow better than I was before, there is no failure in anything you're doing in life. What do you like to do in your spare time? You have a kid, wife.
Well, that's all there's left. That's it. I don't have any spare time, right? Between animals, my kids, wife, two dogs, currently. Uh, I mean, it's I'm a food lover. I like to eat out. I cook a lot. I find that really helpful. I mean, cooking for me is almost like a meditation. I do some meditation as well, separate to that. I find it can be a challenge to get up every day and come back to the table and re-engage, and as we said about those ups and downs, and I find actual meditation a couple of times a day keeps me balanced, uh, helps me refocus, makes me reflect on what the important things are in life. But I love cooking. I cook a lot. I cook every day. I'm the cook at home. I like eating out. We travel a lot. We just came back from New York after 5 days. We brought the kids and had a fantastic time there. Um, yeah, that's mainly what we do. A little bit of sport here and there, but running to keep the mind and body in good shape at particularly our point in life, middle age. That's important. But yeah, it's just trying to keep an even balance between all those things. I think the important thing is to have a number of things to do. Don't just be absolutely maniacally focused on your business, 18 hours a day. That's crazy. You've got to, look after the body and the mind. Because if you can do that, when you re-engage and you focus on your work, I find I'm much more creative, I'm much more focused, I'm much more productive. So make sure you make time for all those things.
Correct. You need to find a balance. It's very, very important for the mind, for the body, for the performance itself. Uh,
Yeah.
Working night and day, I can't see it. I mean, it's very, you are not even productive. I tried. The very beginning, I was working night and day, but the outcome was pretty poor in the end
Yeah.
compared to working hours. Was what am I doing? Maybe it's better if I go to the gym or somewhere else. It's better. What's your take on the tech ecosystem? Are we doing enough? You are very much in tech. Do you think the tech as a whole, all the billions and billions that every year are through inside, do you think we are doing enough or there is much more to be done?
In any particular aspect in technology?
In the aspect of using technology not for the sake of money, but for the sake of making this world a better place.
Yeah, I mean it's a big question. I mean my general take is I think we all agree we're on the cusp of a revolution, an AI driven revolution. I think everybody kind of accepts that. If you if you even dabble with ChatGPT or any of the other LLMs, you can the power of what it can do is just phenomenal. I think our focus, there's a really strange paradox in say it's called the sales innovation paradox. It's a good book wrote by a guy called Dr. Howard Dover, and he explores this paradox. And the paradox is that despite more access to technology over the last 20 to 30 years than ever before, strangely enough, we have become less productive and less effective. Now, some people will disagree with that, but the numbers and the research are there to show that. And the big reason that has been, in my view, is because we've used technology, almost layered technology, onto an industrial revolution mindset. We think of technology to enhance production and the mechanics of production and to increase unit output. And that's the way we've applied technology to date. And we do that in sales, right? Sales engagement platforms, a lot of technology out there that's focused on getting a salesperson to do more emailing to as many prospects as possible, right? And the measurement of success is all about productivity and how many widgets you executed on, right? So it's that kind of industrial revolution mindset, and we've applied technology to try and make us more productive. Now we're at a point where, of course, artificial intelligence is going to take care of all of that through automation and various other technologies, right? Where AI has incredible power just to take all of that burdensome heavy lifting away from people. The question now, or the opportunity that now presents itself, in my view, is how do we now have a unique opportunity to figure out how to design technology to get the best out of people with AI. So humans are phenomenal at problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, innovation, relationship building, our emotional intelligence, and the whole raft of other things. Particularly when we come together, there's a multiplier effect through collaboration when people get together. I think the opportunity that is here is how do we rethink about technology, not in terms of production, but in terms of actually liberating people's true potential. And that's our mission, ultimate mission in Animis, is to use AI, the power of AI, to help people come together to do what they're best at: creativity, ingenuity, building relationships, solving problems, critiquing things. So your big question about, has technology, in terms of, has been a failure, has it been a success? I think we're just at such a pivotal moment that our kids will look back on and go, hey, my parents were there when that happened, right? This is genuine. I know we talk a lot about a new wave, a new revolution, but this truly is that. And I think the onus is on technology leaders and founders to start to think about not just production, but actually think about human experience, and put the emphasis on quality and creativity and innovation. And the companies that are successful over the next 10, 20, 30 years are going to be the ones that crack that nut. Yes, reap all the benefits of AI and technology, but actually figure out how do we also bring the people factor to this equation, because the two of them together are surely, the answer to growth and differentiation and adaptability and resilience and so on. So yeah, and that's the hat I have on. That's the approach that we're taking.
We need to wait to see.
We need to wait
Uh,
and see.
yeah, we must wait for sure. The kids coming after us, I hope they will enjoy. They won't be affected in a bad way, but actually in a good way. It all comes to us today. If we can be sitting in a round table with world leaders, what would you like to tell them? What, in your opinion, must be fixed for humanity that really cannot work?
Oh my God, yeah, that another big question. I think in terms of, it's a little bit of what I just spoke about in terms of thinking about our humanity ultimately and what it means to be human. I think as I said, we're at a unique inflection point where we have an opportunity not just to think about technology and AI and the economic benefits it can have. Yes, yes, that's all important, and we will certainly think about that. But there's an urgent need to think about the human factor within all of this, and to think about how ultimately we get to a point where we build societies where the next generation, my kids and so on, and others, can actually succeed, right? And yes, there are lots of issues in terms of globalization and socio-economic problems, and the challenges we're seeing today in Ukraine and in Israel and Palestine, and there's loads of those massive geopolitical issues at play. But from a technology perspective and a business perspective, I think it's genuinely thinking there's an opportunity to think about what do companies look like in 10 years, and what does the human experience look like within those companies? What does that employee experience look like? Can people genuinely join companies that are aligned with their values, in line where they can fulfill their own needs, self-actualize, if you want to say that, where they can actually not just go and be somebody who executes on a day-to-day, but someone who can go and learn and can be involved in creativity and innovation, can express themselves, can develop new skills and capabilities, can have a genuine career over 30, 40 years, and can grow and evolve within companies. And I don't think we've been great at doing that. Most companies have been great at doing that up until this point. Uh, so, in terms of the bigger questions about the future of the world and humanity, I think just refocusing on what it means to be human, particularly at this point where that's a big question mark, right? When machines are starting to look more and more human, it's a great opportunity to say, well, what does it mean to be human? And if we can focus on that, let's build organizations and societies and our politics around helping us all succeed in life, and find that fulfillment and ultimately happiness.
I'm still questioning myself what it means to be human. As Steve Jobs said, it was very much before dying. One thing is human being, and one thing is being human. That's the two different things. On the latter, we are still working on it. Very much so. Anyway,
Absolutely.
uh, are you concerned about climate change?
Yes, 100%. And I think
I
there's
was
probably
talking to my father. I was talking to my father. He's in Italy, and he told me it's 27 degree here. People on the beach. It's 6th of November.
yeah.
It's something wrong.
We were in New York, as I said last week, and we were walking through Central Park, and it was 15 degrees above normal. It was just short of our all-time record for that week in New York in terms of temperature. It was unbelievable. And then 2 days later, it was back to being quite cold, right? So yeah, absolutely concerned about climate change. I'd love to say who isn't, but there are lots who are probably not not as concerned. There is a certain anxiety that I feel, a continuous anxiety that like things are probably going to get worse before they get better. Thinking about my children's future, and I can see the concern in their face. I mean, they talk about the climate all the time. They're learning in school, and they come home and they talk about the climate and the challenges and the problems, and they can see it on TV, and there's a massive anxiety around that for sure. I don't think it's too late. I just think we need. I think if anything, with just when I look back at what we were able to accomplish and governments were able to accomplish during the COVID crisis, it made me kind of realize nothing is impossible. It's just the political will to do it. So I think we can solve it. We just need the political will to get there. And I think it's on all of us to keep the pressure on our own governments and our own representatives to take action.
Political will is not there yet. It is pretty clear every day.
Yeah,
Let's hope it will happen one day because there is not that much room left, in my opinion. Very little left.
agreed.
Still there, but very little. Which are the things that really matter? Things that you are willing to fight for? in your life as you believe?
Yeah, just I mean, things are, outside of family and all that kind of stuff is, I mean, justice, a sense of social justice is something I strongly believe in. Um, I think we live in a very divided world. Uh, it's it's deeply upsetting for me personally to think about the divide between the haves and the have-nots, and how that has greatly grown over the last 10, 20 years. Uh, I'm hoping the pendulum is swinging where there is. I'm hoping we go through this period of, polarism, right, left, where we have a lot of extreme views, a lot of extreme politics, populism, etc. I'm hoping the pendulum is starting to swing back towards the center in some respects. And with that, I'm hoping that there's a reassessment of how we build our economies and how we drive growth, and how the safety net that we provide within our communities and so on, and that we start to bring that divide between the top 1% or top 5% and the rest of society, how we start to reduce that. I live in Ireland, as I said. I think we do a pretty good job. I mean, we don't have some of the extreme wealth gaps that perhaps you see in other countries, but we do absolutely have our problems. We have a housing problem. We have homeless problems. We far too many people sleeping on the streets. We have a good social, safety net, but it could be better. Um, so yeah, I think the thing that I'm passionate about is thinking about social justice, and thinking about how do we continue to create a society that catches its weakest people and is there to support the weakest.
Yeah, when it comes to society, we still have so much to do. Homeless, as you touch this problem, it's unbelievable how many people they are living on the street, and the rise of prices for not everyone can buy a house. Renting, it's unbelievable. It's pure madness. Are forced to be out because the system does not help them at all. But anyway, which is your best book?
My best book, fiction or non-fiction?
Any kind of book that you really enjoyed?
uh, in terms of oh my god, that's a good question. In terms of fiction, that's a great question. I probably enjoy a lot of. I'm going to give a plug here for Irish authors. There's a particular writer called Anne Enright. She is the Irish poet laureate at one point, I believe. She's kind of internationally recognized. Ireland is known as the land of saints and scholars, so we have a rich tradition of poets and writers and musicians and so on. And Anne Enright is a particular favorite of mine. Her book, The Gathering, is one that I particularly like. Another one called Actress is another one. In terms of non-fiction, I mean, I read widely across business, politics, uh, current affairs, social affairs. One that I've read recently, and I'm just trying to remember. It's Transcendent. Sorry, it's called Transcend, and it's a phenomenal book that builds on the teachings and research of Maslow. We all know Maslow, right? Pyramid of hierarchy of needs, and at the top of the pyramid is this concept of self actualization, and at the bottom of the pyramid are your basic needs for housing and food and so on, and as life progresses, you try and make it to the top. This book, Transcend, actually uh, goes deeper. It goes back to look at a lot of Maslow's research. And I don't know if you noticed, but he never actually designed that triangle that we're all familiar with. I think it was done by a consultancy in the 60s who was packaging Maslow's teachings into a business program and created a simplified version of his research and findings and what he wrote about into that triangle that is so famous and we all talk about, right? And we all know. The book is about goes turns that triangle into actual a boat with a sail, and the whole principle behind it is that that it's really about how the sail and the wind that's in the sail, and how did he write specifically about getting to a point of transcendence. And what he means by transcendence is how to actually get to a point where you're truly realizing your full potential, not just professionally but spiritually. Um, and it's a phenomenal book, and it made me look at Maslow and think about, as I talked about earlier, maybe we need to go back to some of his teachings and think about how we apply those in our in the future, how in the next 10 to 15 years, right?
Do you have any time to watch any movie? And if yes, who's your best actor, the one you really enjoy?
Yeah, loads of time. I love movies. I think one of the best actors out there at the moment, hard to beat, is Leonardo DiCaprio, for sure. Whether it's The Revenant or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or I mean, there's just something about him. He's very compelling. He's very watchable. I find him fantastic, and put him in a movie with De Niro or Hoffman or Pacino, and you've got an incredible combination. But anything by Scorsese with those kind of actors, you can't beat it.
He's very eclectic. He can do actually everything, any kind of. He can do action. He can do comic.
Yeah.
He really does whatever he wants when it comes to acting. What's the best lesson that life gave to you?
That is a good question. The best lesson, I think ultimately it's not being afraid to try and evolve through life, to accept life. You don't think about this in your 20s and 30s, right? Maybe this is when you get to middle life, you're going to learn these lessons. I don't know how you feel about this, but in your 20s, you think, you only see what's directly in front of you, and you're just focused on doing, executing to that, and being that person. I think looking back, you know, I think life is a constant learning journey of highs and lows, both professionally and personally. Everybody has those highs and lows. It's trying to learn from those experiences, come out the other side, and then accept that you yourself are on a learning journey, and you're going to change and evolve as a person. And certainly when I hit my 40s, you take a step back and reflect on that. So the best lesson in life is, you were going to have highs and lows. Try and keep an even keel. Try and see it as a learning opportunity. Understand that new doors will open ahead of you. May not look like it in the moment, but I kind of feel like if you focus on yourself, your family, your friends, what makes you happy, you're going to have success.
You're right. When you're 20, you just go. That's it, period.
You don't see
And
that.
after learning, 30, 40, 50, you very much watch back. And
Exactly.
see how things are going. It's been evolving. It's a huge learning curve. Yeah, it is. Uh, do you have any wish, the very strong one, that you can wait for?
A wish that I can't wait for. Well, we're going to Web Summit next week in Lisbon. So I'm hoping that will be a very successful week for us. Meeting customers, meeting investors, hearing lots of great speakers. No, I think we live in incredibly exciting times. I think I'm in a lucky position that I feel like I made the right decision 4 years ago to be an entrepreneur, to go on that journey. I don't regret that for one moment, although, as we said, there's highs and lows and it can be difficult at times. I'm looking at the next 10 to 15 years thinking it's going to be an incredibly exciting future in technology, in B2B sales, in my particular space as well. And I want to be at the forefront of that. And I want to be seen as an industry leader, as a thought leader, as someone who, when I look back in 10, 15 years, I made a contribution. and I had an impact. And people remember me and remember what Animus was, and remembers we did something interesting at a particular point in time. So my wish is, to look back, I guess, in my retirement and say, yeah, we had an impact. We left our mark.
Let me close with a recommendation. If you can recommend something to all the founders watching this podcast, what would you like to tell them?
What would I like to tell them? I would like to tell them, I think it goes back to resilience is key, but to be resilient, you need to look after yourself, and you need to get the balance right between family, work, time for yourself, time out, exercise, mental health, physical health. And if you can do those things and make sure that you look after those things, that resilience will come from that. And stay curious, constantly think about constantly keep an eye on what's happening in the market, no matter what sector you're in. What are the technology trends that are unfolding almost by the hour today? And how is that going to impact your particular industry and the solution you're bringing to market? And I think if you stay curious like that, and it'll keep you one step ahead of what's happening.
Then, thank you so much for coming to the Live with Founder. It's been a very great pleasure for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Thanks again for having me. All the best.